Hi, welcome. Today we're going to approach this problem. It's figure 7, question 4c. Before you jump right into creating the part on Inventor, please study the drawing carefully. Okay, this is a section front view, and I would say this is the plan view. If you were to ask yourself what angle projection it is a first angle projection, because whatever that you see from below is reflected down at the bottom, where the plan view is below the front view. So this section view of x-x is across this entire section. So imagine if this part was cut into half, this half was removed, and you are viewing the part from this angle, looking at the part, and this is what you will see. The hash patterns on the part reminds us of the cutting plane that touches the material that goes across. There is no hash pattern here because there is a hole. There is no hash pattern here on the tab because the cutting plane does not touch the tab at all, as it goes through an empty space. Okay, so according to drawing conventions, ribs or webs are not hashed at all, so that's why you see a rib over here. And how do we go about approaching this problem? First, you need to ask yourself, how would you start your sketch? Okay, there is no right and wrong way. You can start off the sketch with this profile, you can start off the sketch with this end, or you can even start off the sketch on this end. Okay, so there is no right or wrong profile as long as you follow the dimensions that are given in this drawing over here. Before you start, you always want to look out for where your zero datum is, or where your sketch plane would be. I will naturally choose one of the planes to be cutting across the center of this circle. Alright, and what I'll do is, you'll notice I will dimension everything starting from this center. So my x and y would be in this the center of this circle. I will start my sketching plane, or my exact plane, on this plane over here. Then when I draw out whatever profile, I will extrude it up by 20 millimeters and 70 millimeters down. For me, I will start off this drawing on the left hand side, and I will create this profile. I will draw out this profile, alright, where the mouse is moving through, and I will draw it on a exact plane, and I will extrude it up by 20, and I'll extrude it down by 70, so that I have a work plane that runs right across the flat of this part. Okay, now first up, I'll need to ask myself what the dimensions are to create this drawing. From the center of the circle to this line is 42 millimeters. From the center of the circle to the inner line is 32 millimeters. The outer radius is R20, which is diameter 40. So I can go ahead and start my sketch. I'll create a sketch plane, and what I'll do is I'll rotate my sketch plane such that when I click on the sketch plane, it will rotate it in the orientation that I prefer. So I click on the start sketch, and I'll select this work plane, which is the exact plane, and it will orientate me to this. Okay, the first circle that I'll draw, right, is R40, diameter 40. Okay, and then what I'll do next is I will draw a line. Okay, and that's the base line, and I'll draw it such that the line is not centralized and it's at a distance. And what I'll do is I will add my constraints. So it's very important to add your constraints to the line, so that when you finish your sketch, your sketch will be fully constrained. Okay, then from here to this was 42. Alright, and the length of this line, we go back to the drawing, the width of this, is 64. Okay, so when I center the line to the center point of the circle, and if I enter any number, let's say even 30 millimeters, right, the line will shrink or expand equally with this center point over here. So the distance is equally divided, and I can rest assured that my position is correct. Okay, so this is 64. Enter. Alright. Next, I'll draw a line that is across. I don't worry about the dimensions just yet. Later on, then I will assign the dimensions. And I draw a line that is very close to the circle. Okay, I use the constraint command to constrain the line and the circle together. I press escape. And then what I'll do is I'll trim it. Okay. And I know that from here to the center of the circle is 32. Okay. Now if you look at the drawing, right, from the center of the circle to this edge to the corner here is 32. Now some of you may be asking, sir, is it okay, or Roy, is it okay if I were to draw a straight line and I dimension this as 10? Well, technically you're not wrong, but according to this particular curriculum and the way the 3D models are being marked, if you do not follow according to the dimensions that's given in the drawing, you will lose marks. So if it says from here to the back edge 32, you dimension it accordingly. This goes in line with the philosophy that in the event if the designer ever change this number, right, you will be able to go back to your sketch and make amendments with minimal disruption to all your other dimensions and create design errors that would be caused during the rebuild. Okay, so follow everything according to the drawing, according to the dimensions. Please do not use math to deduce the thickness or the dimensions that you are wanting to draw. And this is a very important point to take note. Alright. Likewise for the same thing, do not double dimension. What you can do is you notice I draw the line very far out, and I draw this as well. Double dimension. What is double dimensioning? I'll show you in a very short while what double dimensioning is. Alright. Now you will notice that, oh, this sketch is not fully constrained because this here is blue. And how do I fully constrain it? I dimension this to 10. Right? And this is wrong, right? You shouldn't do this at all. Okay? You shouldn't do this at all. This is wrong because you shouldn't do the math. And if you were to put this point and you dimension it to the center of the circle, you get 32 again. Right? And you click OK. And yes, it's fully constrained. Technically speaking, you're not wrong. But according to the marking scheme, if you have this is considered double dimensioning. If you have double dimensioning, one of the dimensions will be deleted, like this, for example. Sorry. This will be deleted, and then you realize that one of the lines is blue and it's not fully constrained, then you lose your points from there. So don't double dimension. Now if you don't double dimension, then how do you turn this blue line into a black line? Well, what you make use of is constraints. So you use the vertical constraint and you constrain the endpoint of this line, okay, endpoint of this line to the endpoint of this line, and you will see that they will turn the relating features or lines to a fully constrained sketch. Okay, once you're done with this, you can trim this away and you can exit the sketch. Right now, once you exit the sketch, I'm now still in my top view. I am going to extrude. Okay, and you will be tempted to extrude it along the entire length of 70, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 millimeters in length. But don't do that, okay, because you want to keep one work plane that is on this flat here. So what you do is you extrude in one dimension 20 millimeters and you extrude in the other dimension 70 millimeters. So I'm going to choose this option where it's asymmetric extrusion in both directions. The first direction is going to be 20 millimeters and the second direction is going to be 70 millimeters. Okay. Now once this is done, I have drawn this as a whole block. I'm going to do a cutout over here, and the cutout has a length of 66. Measured from the top, it is 12 millimeters, so that's what I'm going to do as well. Okay, now how do I go about doing this? I will create a sketch, and this time round I will choose the plane that's running through the center. Okay, previously we were drawing on the XZ plane, now we choose the XY plane. And because during our initial sketch, the first sketch, we drew the center of the circle on the center of the X and the Y, right? Automatically the XY plane runs across the center of the circle. So we can confidently just click on this to start our sketch. Okay. Now our sketch now is in a view where it's shaded with the edges colored, and you may not be able to see if you are drawing inside. So what you can do is you can go to the view and switch it to a wireframe mode. Okay, then you go back to sketch, and what I'll do now is I will draw a square, a rectangle, and then I'll add the dimensions. The dimension from this to the top edge is 12. That was close. And this here is 66. Okay, and it's not fully constrained, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension this cutout to the center, and this was supposed to be 32. Okay, and this is still a blue line. Now you can, if you leave it alone, alright, or if you give it a dimension, it'll be an extra dimension, right? For example, if you do this, this will be considered extra dimension, and this dimension does not exist in the drawing. Okay, so because it didn't exist in the drawing, this dimension, when we mark it, we will delete this dimension away, right? So if you were to put this dimension in, right, it wouldn't help you. So we're good if you will delete this dimension away, and you see that, oh, it's still not constrained, not fully constrained. So what we have to do is, what we can do is you can project geometry, and you can project the edge, right, of the part, and convert it into a line, a geometry. Then what we do is you use the constraint collinear, and you make this line collinear to this line. Okay, now that everything is black and fully constrained, you can do the extrude cut. I'll go back to my view so that I can see it clearly, shaded with edges, and I'll do an extrude cut, alright, on both ends through all. Okay, and this is done. Alright, both ends through all. Now once this is done, if you notice the way I work on it, I work on it from the left to the right, and I'll leave the rib to the last. Okay, I'll leave the rib to the last. I'll work from left to right. The next thing I'm going to work on is the bosses at the top and the bottom. I need not draw it on both sides. What I can do is I can complete one set of the operations at the top, and then I will create a work plane that is in the middle, and then I'll do a mirror, okay, across the work plane. All right, so then I become a little bit more efficient in the way I create my parts. So how do I go about doing this? This has a diameter 12 hole. I'll do the diameter 12 hole after I've done the mirror. Okay, this boss is diameter 32. It rises up from the plate 4 millimeters and has a radius of 4. Okay, so it's diameter 32. So I remember that, and I create a sketch, and I sketch it on the top plane. Okay, then I zoom in, hit diameter 32. With diameter 32, it's done, fully constrained. I extrude it by 4 millimeters. Okay, then I zoom in, and I do a fillet radius of 4 millimeters, and I select the corner. So this is the corner in which the radius will be created. Alright, now once this is done, I'll go to the work plane to create a work plane in the middle. How do I create a work plane that is split in the middle? I go to this work plane thing, right? I select this icon, and that means you're ready to create a work plane. I select one work plane here, that's a primary work plane. I select the secondary work plane, and they will generate for me the mid plane or the work plane that is in between these two work planes. Okay, when this is done, I can then use my mirror, select the features that I want to mirror, and the features that I want to mirror would be this extrusion followed by the fillet. Okay, and the mirror plane that I'll be using is this one that I created, and I click OK, and automatically this is created for me. Now if you don't like the presence of this work plane, you don't have to delete it. Just right click, and there is a visibility option, and you can uncheck the visibility and it disappears. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to create a sketch and a point right over here, and I finish it. And why do I do that? I do that because I'm going to create a hole later. Right, it's a true hole, and the hole is diameter 12, if I'm not wrong. Let me counter check. The hole is diameter 12. So I'm done over on this side, the left side. I'm now going to focus on the main section over here. Okay, a very common a thing that students like to do is they like to draw the overall profile, and then they'll draw other features on the profile. Yeah, try to avoid that. Draw one feature at a time and then build your part up, because if you try and put everything in one sketch and extrude it, you are subjecting yourselves to subjecting yourselves to errors. You'll be more prone to errors, and there'll be lots of headaches. So create one feature at a time, okay, to avoid all these heartaches. So how do I create this feature? I know that the line is tangent to this circle that is diameter 48, and the center of this circle is 165 millimeters away from this other center. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start a sketch, and I'm going to start on the exact plane. Okay, the exact plane is 20 millimeters away from the top, so it's okay. Or what I can do is I can view from here, right? And I'll draw a circle that's off, and what I'll do is I will align it. Okay, and I'll put the dimension, and the dimension is diameter 48, 165. Diameter 48, and the distance is 165. Okay, then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw a line from this edge all the way to the end. Okay, you usually do this. It's an extra step. I'll show you a shortcut later, but this is just to be safe. You use the tangent and your tangent to the circle, and then you trim it away. Okay, this technique is for those who just want to be doubly sure that the line overextends the circle and it is tangent to the circle, and then you trim it away. The other way in which you can do it is this way, where you click on the line here, and then you zoom in, and what you do is you move your mouse close to the circle, and you wait until the tangent symbol appears, and it appears, it's very faint, it's on near my mouse, near the crosshair. You'll see a circle with a line, and that's the tangent symbol. So you click on that, you can be rest assured that your line is snapped to the tangent of the circle. Okay, now at this point of time, what you want to do is you want to close up your sketch to a full volume. You could do this, or you could project the geometry, but I most recommend you to draw a line over so that you do not subject yourselves to potential errors. Okay, so once this is done, this sketch is done, I'm ready to extrude, and I'm going to extrude this downwards. Okay, and if I'm not wrong, the thickness is 12 millimeters. Let me double check. It is 12 millimeters. After creating this whole profile, I will create the circular diameter 48, and I'll extrude it down by 50 millimeters. Okay, by 50 millimeters. So what I do is I select from this top edge, okay, And you notice how I select the top edge and not the bottom edge to extrude it, even though I'm gonna extrude it pass through another solid, and then that doesn't feel quite right, but it's okay because I'm following the dimensions that is stated out in the drawing. Okay, following the dimensions that stated out in the drawing, and you need to follow it to, oh sorry, it's 48 not 50. Got that wrong. 48. Okay, and from this 48, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it the other way around, 50 millimeters. And when you flip the direction, right, Inventor automatically presumes that you'll be doing a cut, but actually you're not, so you are doing a solid, so you extrude this solid. Okay, and then I've created the solid that is over here. Right, I won't bother with creating the circle just yet. After creating the solid, then what I'll do is I'll create the tab. But before I carry on, I need to run out to get my charger because I'm running low on battery. Hang on for a second, guys. I'll be back in a while. No battery. No, the original when I used, right, it was too bad. Okay, I've got my power charged in and I'm ready to go. And now I've created this extrusion. Okay, and next thing I'm gonna do is create the tab here. And this tab, you can see it's measuring from the center. Okay, and it is 35 millimeters from the center. And it is 35 millimeters from the center, 25 millimeters from the top, and it is R12, which is diameter 24. Okay, so before I start this, I know that I'm going to dimension a dimension that is the center to the circle. Okay, and I know that I will not have any edges that is coming through on this. So what I'll do is, if you were to take the dimension from this line, you will be wrong because this is the tangent point and it's not the center. So what you do is you go over to this icon here that creates an axis for you. Okay, now click on the icon and then move your mouse over to the cylinder. Then you notice that a line pierces through the cylinder, and that is the axis. Alright, now when you start your sketch, you sketch on the XY plane. Alright, and then what you do is you zoom in over here, and there is a circle that I drew, and it is 12 millimeters in radius, so it's 24. Whoops, disappeared into the solid. I'll pull it out, and then what happens is that from here to this is, what was it, 35? Let me check. 35. Okay, it was 35, and and the height is 25. Okay, the height is 25. So I'm going to dimension this to the height 25, and then I get this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm then going to draw the line exactly to the center of this. and I select another line. Make sure that it's tangent to the circle, and I snap to the center. And because I can't see, I'll switch to my wireframe and go back to my sketch mode, and I close up the lines. Whoops, overdid there. Okay. Now sometimes you have a line like this that doesn't turn black and it's not fully constrained. And one of the reasons could be that it is not tangent to the circle. Okay. So you see, when it does this, when you move the line, it shows that it's not tangent to the circle. So what you can do is you can use the tangent command and make sure that it's tangent to the circle, right? And then it's fully constrained. Then you trim this away, okay? And you check your dimensions, 35, 25, R12, which is diameter 24. So R12, diameter 24, 50, 35. Okay. Now, once this is done, I'm going to extrude it both ways to a thickness of 20 millimeters. Okay. Finish sketch, extrude both ways, 20 millimeters. I click OK. Alright. Now, once this is done, I am ready to create my slot. Alright. But what I can do is I create the hole first. So I create a sketch. Put my point in there. And the diameter of the hole is diameter 24. Okay. So I finish my sketch. Go to the hole command. And it automatically goes to the spot where the dot was created. Okay. And the diameter of this is 24. Okay, just to counter check, edit feature. When you select edit feature, you can go and you can check and change the dimensions so that these things can update itself according to what you want. So this is 24 and I've created a hole right through the top. Okay, let's change the style so that we can see. Alright. Now, how do we cut through the the center? Okay, there is a slot that cuts through the center. Okay, so the way I would do it is I would start off from this sketch plane. And I'll create a rectangle. And the center points are here, so it shows up, Then what I'll do is I will align it such that it is center. Or I can make it center to this, right? And the width of it is let's see. The width of it is 4 millimeters, so you get the dimension from here, 4 millimeters. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll bring my slot over. What I'll comfortably do is align this to the center of the circle. Okay, so what I'll do is I will put my vertical. I'll put my vertical constraint, or no, I'll choose my coincident constraint and see if I can pop the center of this circle here, and I'll do my collinear constraint to be in line with this edge. Now sometimes if the edge doesn't pop out, what you could do is you could project geometry. Project this geometry out. Then what I'll do is I'll align this to the projected geometry. Okay. Now once this is done, I'm going to extrude cut, and it is going to be through all. Okay, through all. And that's how I created this. Next thing is I'm going to create this hole, which is a diameter 12 hole, and I'm going to show you another way where you can create the whole command without putting in the dot from the sketch and the work plane. If you know that the point is at the center of a circle, what you can do is you can put the whole command. You move your mouse. Oh, sorry, my bad. You can't do this here. It's best to still go through a sketch, create a sketch over here, then put a point where the center is. Okay, then what you do is you go to the hole command. It does the hole for you, and the diameter of the hole is 12. Okay, so we are almost there. Alright, we're almost there, and what's left is the rib. Okay, what's left is the rib. And the rib is made up of, this rib is not the usual where it's like a slanted one feature kind. It's combined with 3 features. One is the 18mm straight line, then there is the radius 60 that is tangent to both the straight line and to another radius 60, and this radius 60 is vertically aligned to the edge of this part over here. Okay, so how do we go about creating this rib? How I will do it is I'll first create a sketch, alright, and I'll sketch on the XY axis. Okay, the XY axis runs right through the center of the part, so that's where your work plane is, right? If you were to need to create a mid plane just to create the rib, you will lose marks. So please don't create extra work planes that you don't need. Okay, don't create extra work planes that you do not need. Okay, so you create the sketch and you sketch on the XY plane. Now, after I sketch on the XY plane, I'm going to draw a straight line across, right? And then you need to see the dimension is 18mm from the top, from the bottom. So I'm going to dimension this 18mm. Sorry, 18. And I'm going to draw a large circle from here. And this large circle, right, I'm going to align it first. Okay, it is vertically constrained from this to this point. No, I can't do that as of now. I may need to project this line, okay, this edge, so that there is a line. Then what I'll do is I'll make this line vertically, okay, to this point here. Alright, and then the next thing that I'll do is I'll dimension this to R60, which is 120. Alright, and what happens is I need to go change the view so that I can see the wireframe. I need to make sure that this tip here is coinciding with this tip here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going back to the sketch and I'm going to do a coincident of this tip to the end over here. Oops, I can't. Let's see if I can move this. Yes. There is no edge, this tip here, and then it gets, yeah, so this is how it goes, right? What I can do now is I can trim it away. I can trim this and I can trim this. There is another circle, and this circle is tangent to this line and tangent to this arc. Okay, and the radius of the circle is the diameter is 120, the radius is 60 as well. So there I need to do more trimming. This is what I need to trim. And if you zoom in, you need to trim off this. So what I've done is I have a straight line, I have a R60, and I have another R60 here. Okay. With this, you are ready to do the rip command. And I'm going to show you where it is. Sorry, it's here. The rip command. Make sure you select this. That creates the rip. I am selecting the, then you select the edge, alright, and you view. Okay. The default is 1 millimeters, but that's too thin. It's 12 millimeters. So you need to go over here and you need to show 12 millimeters. And you will see that they will generate a rip for you. Okay, generate a rip for you, and once that's good, you click OK, and then your rip is generated. Right? This is an issue. Okay, and this is a negative demonstration. I'm so sorry. But I think what happened was that I shouldn't have used this edge, and because of this edge, if you were to view, right, you will see that there is actually a corner edge over here, and this is not acceptable. Okay, so I have to redo this portion, right, and to fix it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take this away. This is and then I will try and create the rip again. Okay, just do this. And create a rip once more. And this time round it's able to. Okay, so what happens is that when they have the additional line there, they do not allow me to create the extra material and allow me to join it to the circular feature over here. So I have to delete that straight line out. Okay, so once the rip is deleted, the last step is to move from left to right and make sure that you have all the radiuses. There's a radius here, there's a radius underneath it, okay, there's a radius at the side, and all unspecified radius are 6. Okay, so what I have to do now is my last step. I will have to create the radius, and I'll just put here R6, and then I will look at the drawing. There's one radius here and one radius at the bottom and at the rib. So there's one here, one at the bottom, one at the rib. Okay, and then if you were to look at the drawing carefully, there is a radius underneath as well, okay, on both sides. So this is a radius, so you need to be careful about it. You need to add that in, and then this would be a radius as well, this corner and this corner. Okay, there is a radius here, here, alright, and I look from the plan view, right, there is a smaller radius of 3 millimeters, so I'll do that the next time round. Okay, so there's no radiuses here in the inside. All this is catered for, so I am ready to accept to create all these radiuses. Okay, then the next radius is radius 3, and that belongs to this small edge here and small edge over here. Right, and if you don't like this axis, you want to hide it, you can check on its visibility and then it disappears. And this, my friend, is the question that is completed. Okay, thank you so much for the attention. This again is figure 7, question 4c. Please practice this. This will be very good practice for you and get you ready for the coming test. With that, see you again soon. Bye bye.